So here we are upstairs at the Belgian beer bar at the Brickstore pub. We're going to be joined by Dave Blanchard, a good friend of mine and one of the owners here. And he's going to tell us a little bit more about the Brickstore pub and a little bit of the history and other things going on here. And then hopefully we're going to get a little peek at their beer vault, which is their new vintage ale storage area. Eventually those beers will be brought up to the menu here at the Brickstore. So stick around as we tour Atlanta's premier beer bar. The Brickstore has been the standout pub here in Atlanta since opening in 1997. The love of beer starts with the owners here and flows through to their enthusiastic staff, who are full of knowledge and always on the cutting edge of new beers. When in Atlanta, this is a must-stop for people who are truly serious about good beer. For myself and many industry folks, this is a regular stop. It's not uncommon for me to stop by for just a beer and end up spending hours talking, tasting, and discussing everything involved with beer. So stop by and experience the Brickstore pub. So here we are with Dave Blanchard today. Thanks for joining us, Dave. We appreciate it. Yeah, always a pleasure to be here at the Brickstore pub. And so you want to tell us just a little bit about the history, how you guys got started here, and kind of where the whole concept came from?
Yeah, well, three of us, myself, Tom Moore, and Mike Gallagher, had this idea, and we got started back in 1997. We just celebrated our 12th anniversary.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's worth the cheers right there, yeah.
We started out just, very, it was kind of the three of us doing all the work, putting the place together, and really wanted it to be a beer bar, very pubby. We're lucky enough to have a very cool old building, which reeks of character and just the whole everything about it. It's just very
it's one of my favorite spots to come and sit right here.
It really is. So we're very fortunate with
and believe me, people watch what you guys do here in the city and are always curious of what's happening at the Brickstore pub.
Sure.
And then, I mean, your staff here to me really stands out. And as far as the education, the knowledge, friendliness, I mean, it's something that you guys have obviously.
Well, it's a big part of what we stand for sure. There's this very limited amount of special release stuff that places like us and
it just goes to select places. Yeah.
And so it's cool. I mean, not only you just got to be on top of it. You got to know what's going on with every brewery and every importer, and keeping the relationships close. Yeah.
I know you guys are doing the vintage ales, and you've got a nice little vintage ale list here as well.
We started about 2 or 3 years ago, I guess, after a visit to Belgium, and we went to a couple spots who essentially specialize in, cellared beers, dating all the way back to like the 80s and some stuff, with breweries that aren't even in existence anymore, and it blew our minds. There's a bank, used to be an old bank, right on the other side of this wall right here. From what we're told, this bank was built obviously back in like the early 1900s, and I have a feeling these vault doors are going to be down here longer than any human will be alive, because I just can't imagine how they built these things back there. But amazing, but very cool. So in addition to being great cellar space, we got stuff like this to play with, which is really cool. We'll get in here in a second, but basically this is all the space we have. Like I said, cellaring a lot of beers, a lot of big malty beers, a lot of Belgians, a lot of some European stuff that's not Belgian. Quite a few American craft beers these days are going to hold up really well. Lee actually is just rolled in. He is our beer manager, so to speak.
Cheers.
Glad to have you. This is kind of Lee's little pet project down here. So maybe I'll let Lee give you the little lowdown on everything down here.
Well, I guess I could start taking you on a tour of the place. First of all, over here, this is the first vault. It's a little bit smaller than the main vault. If you follow me in, we started aging kegs about around Christmas time, when all the Belgian beers came out. We started putting up 6 doughs of different beers. So we've got a whole lot of Belgian Christmas beers. We've got a bunch of the Great Divide stuff, Brooklyn Black Chocolate Stout, Hebrew 12, Sammy Claus, Victory, Old Horizontal, Stone Imperial Stout, There's Wake and Bake, Duck Rabbit, Terrapin Side Projects, Weyerbacher 13. Gonna have a bunch of good beers that we're gonna do like verticals and stuff like that with. So we're just now starting with all the keg stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to have, this whole area will be full of kegs. This shelf is sort of stuff that we've sort of acquired along the way through trades and get-togethers and gifts from people when they go out of town and stuff. We've got a lot of West Coast beers up here, stuff that we can't get in Georgia, so we like to keep that reserved for special people when they come down here. On this shelf over here is all of our American micros that we have. We've started aging. We have about 3 or 4 beers out of every case that we put up on the shelves, and we haven't tasted a lot of them yet because they're not that old yet. But eventually we will taste our way through all of these and decide when we think some of the beers are ready to either go on a menu or for us to do special dinners around or things like that. If you want to follow me back to this room back here, I can show you where we keep all of the American micros in the boxes and stuff. And each shelf has its own designated room in order to keep all of the boxed products. All right, so here we are in the American micro room, I guess we call it. And this is where we're aging a lot of the American micro beers that we can get in Georgia. From the display that you saw out there, this is all of the boxed up product. Some things we have 1 case of, and some things we have 10 cases of, depending on how much we like that particular beer at the time, or how rare it is, or how much we can get. Run out of some room in there, so it does spill out into this area out here. And if you check it out, we've got a lot of Stone stuff, and we've got a whole lot of Terrapin, got some Sweetwater. Got some Weyerbacher 13, and of course Brooklyn Black Chocolate, a bunch of the good Weyerbacher stuff, Black Ops, and some Smutty Nose, some Highland, Left Hand, Avery, Stone, North Coast. I'm trying to get a little bit of every brewery that we can, and collect a lot of their big beers and some of their Belgian style beers. And try and get as good an assortment as we can of different beers. And if you follow me over this way, we can take a look at, as you see, the belt. It goes about halfway here, and then starts getting into a lot of the Belgian stuff, because we do have a lot of Belgians.
It's kind of funny looking back now and what was actually available. I think it was more about what we didn't carry more than what we were carrying at that point. We've never, done the big 3.
You determine when you're going to start putting those on the menu.
Well, that was the whole idea behind the rack system out there, was that it's basically going to be up to our palates to decide when this stuff goes out. I mean, there is some stuff out there.
That's the tricky part.